Okay, so what we have here today is just kind of a quick overview or review of the Quartermaster QSE-10, otherwise known as the Biff Tannen. Let's go ahead and get into it real quick. So you get a nice little box. I'm not even sure if this is the actual box the Biff Tannen comes in. Excuse me. But they sent it in this box. I did get the birth certificate or authentication certificate from Quartermaster. This particular one has a birth date in July of 2015, serial numbered 9 of 300. I will say that I am familiar with Quartermaster in the sense that they run production runs of 300 knives. This particular knife comes in a stonewash, a Texas T finish like the one we have here, and a black limo tint. So technically, there's more than 300 available. It just depends on the finish that you want. Some of the initial impressions I had with this knife were that I really liked this Texas T finish. I'm not generally a huge fan of these dark or black wash knives. I mean, I have had a few. I got my 0300, which is black wash, and I like them, but I don't like them, only because sometimes I think the raw finish of the materials is better, but that's just personal preference. However, with this one, I have to say I definitely like the Texas T finish, and I can only imagine how awesome this will look as it wears in and gets some pocket time. So yeah, that's definitely the one I was looking for, was the Texas T, and I was able to find it. And there you can see it's number 9 of 300. They looks like they laser it right on the spine of the blade. Now this is titanium, full titanium handles. It does have some wire EDM cutouts. I think it's more of a design than anything else. One of the first things I noticed in pictures and also in having it in my hand, which I liked better in my hand than I did in the pictures, was I'm not a huge fan of knives that only use one bolt to hold on the pocket clip or one screw to hold on the pocket clip. Generally because if you don't have them super snug, or you don't Loctite them, or if you're not maintaining it, they can work loose. Well, what they did on this one, I know it's going to be hard to tell in the video here, but they actually have a recess in the titanium handle so that the pocket clip, there you go, you can kind of see it, actually sits down into a notch on the frame. And what that does is it really prevents it from, pivoting left or right. I mean, I'm pushing pretty hard. Obviously, it's tightened down, but there really is no side-to-side movement. So I think they remedied that by having it countersunk. The blade material is CPM 154. It has basically a compound Wharncliffe blade. You're looking at something of a hollow grind down here and a saber grind on the end. It did come, obviously pretty sharp. Just love the look of this knife. I mean, aesthetically, it's a very pretty knife in my opinion. It looks like it would be awkward in the hand, but I didn't do many cutting tasks with it, just some light duties. But I will say that, I've got medium to large hands, but they're fat. I got fat hands, of course. Brother always calls me sausage fingers. But it feels good in my hand. I get a nice choke up grip on it. There is no sharpening choil in it, so when you're sharpening it, you're going to ram it right up to that flipper tab that acts as a finger stop. Unless obviously you want to cut your own little sharpening choil in it. But it feels good in the hand. It has what Quartermaster calls their Orb Pivot System. Now it's more of just an open bearing system, open bearings, so dirt and debris and stuff can get in there. You've got several balls that ride in a contoured washer, basically. Pretty smooth. Like I said, you're going to have maintenance with it, though. If you carry it a lot, you're going to get lint, dirt, and debris down in there. So it's going to be something that every now and then you got to take the knife apart and clean them bearings, lube them, put them back together. I like to use Remy oil on all my knives. I know there's a lot of oils that are more expensive. A lot of people say they'd like to use this or that. I own a lot of firearms, so I have Remy oil on hand, and it's always worked good for me on all my knives, whether they're bushings, bearings, whatever. I did notice the detent is probably lacking a little bit in my opinion. It's not as strong as I would like it to be. What I mean by that is if you just simply give it a quick little light switch, I mean, you're not going to get it. You kind of got to give a little downward and back, and then it flips out fine, and it actually is relatively smooth. So, I mean, once you get the hang of it, I don't really think there's any issues with it. It may be a little different from some of the other knives that you've had or handled that are flippers. Again, it's smooth, but it's just, the detent's pretty soft. So, that'd be my only, you know, real complaint about the knife, I guess. You know, like I said, the bearings are pretty smooth and everything else. So, it is obviously a titanium frame lock, and it does have a lock face steel insert. And there's also a over travel stop. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to get it to show up on camera. But, so it's just going to prevent you from over traveling that. Again, it's a really cool knife. It looks really good. I don't really necessarily know it's worth the money that Quartermaster asked for them, you know, as far as MSRP goes. But it obviously is a sharp looking knife, and it'd be really good for opening boxes if you open a lot of packages and things like that. That Wharncliffe blade especially is going to offer you know, a lot of use in that situation. It is a little bit of a fairly wide knife. You're coming in at, I believe it's just over half an inch, like 0.550. You're looking at a 0.150 blade thickness. Again, CPM 154, titanium handles, does have bearings, lock face, steel lock face insert. You know, just kind of a quick little overview of it. A lot of people have Spartaco Tenaciouses, so we'll kind of give a size comparison. I would say in my collection, you know, looking through the knives that I had on hand, that was close in size as far as, you know, overall length. Obviously, the Tenacious is going to be a thinner knife, you know, completely different materials. But again, it was just to kind of give you a size comparison if you were wondering how big the Quartermaster Biff Tannen was. Here we have a ZT-0350 Tiger Stripe. You know, a lot of people, I think, would consider that a mid to larger size knife. Obviously, there's many that are a lot bigger. I own quite a few that are bigger, actually. But I think in most people's hands, they would consider that, you know, as far as an everyday carry, a medium to larger. And you can see it sizes up pretty well against that. It's obviously smaller, but the Quartermaster, again, is just much beefier. I really truly believe you could use the Quartermaster as a hard use knife. Time will tell. I'm not actually keeping it, so hopefully whoever it ends up with, they'll get to use it quite a bit, and I think it'll hold up, you know, with proper maintenance, lubing, cleaning those bearings. You know, we might have to adjust the centering after it breaks in a little more, because it's only been flipped a handful of times, really. But yeah, I think it's a good knife. Is it worth Quartermaster's MSRP? You know, probably not. Will I say that's indicative of all Quartermaster knives? No, I won't say that, because this is the first knife that I've played around with from them. So I just want to give my opinion, my thoughts on it. Like I said, sharp looking knife. The only thing I'll add is I wish they would have called it the Terminator, because in the closed position, for whatever reason, it just reminds me of like a Terminator leg or something like that. So it would have fit that theme too, because they tend to like naming their knives after 80s iconic, you know, film characters or TV show characters. So, but yeah, so this is Quartermaster QSE-10, also known as the Biff Tannen. If you're thinking about getting one, I'd say it's worth playing around with. If you can, try and find one used or at a discount on eBay. Thanks, take care, guys.